the Mercedes-AMG CLA 35 in our review. Let's go! In the front here of the CLA 35, we can see this special AMG grille, and it is somewhat similar than the one we see at the sedan 35 version. AMG badge, 2 horizontal fins, and this dot structure. However, also here the AMG line features a diamond pin grille. Then also horizontal fins right there. The CLA looks, of course, quite aggressive also. Although it's just a compact vehicle, well, platform-wise, but length-wise, it's a little bit different. Soon tell you more about that. Headlamp start still with halogen, optional LED, and then optional LED multi-beam as we see it right here. And the CLA, if you compare it to the sedan, has a little bit wider daytime running light right here. Overall, 5 centimeters wider, also in the track, if you compare it to the predecessor CLA. The length is 4 meters 69, 15 foot 4, or 184 inches, and that's about 5 centimeters longer than the predecessor CLA. And this was also then the same length as the Mercedes C-Class. So also very interesting that this one is still the A-Class platform, but in length already as long as the C-Class, which would be a segment above that. 16 to 19 inch wheels overall available, 18 inch standard with the AMG model. And those ones here, the optional 19 inch wheels with a dual color scheme. Pretty impressive, and also very contrasting to this yellow color here. You can also get black frames around the windows and black mirror caps if you go for this package. Here it is rather the bright one, and I think it also fits to the yellow color too. So the side silhouette is the special thing about the CLA because it has this coupe shape. However, it's indeed not that different to the new A-Class sedan, I think. It's a little bit sleeker as for the roofline here, and of course, since it's longer, it's also somewhat more stretched. Suspensions here, it's basically the same as for all the A-Class models or the A-Class platform models. You get the standard suspension and you get the sport suspension, which is 50 millimeters lower. That one would also be standard for the AMG with a special AMG setup. And then there's optional adaptive suspension. And if you go for that one, then with the AMG, it has an adaptive AMG tuning, so it's a little bit stiffer. I would advise you rather stick with the base suspension or then always go with the adaptive one, because the sports one is actually quite stiff unless you really exactly want that. With the adaptive suspension, you at least have some more variation that you can choose between the comfort and the sport mode depending on the situation. Take a look here at the rear. The CLA has very stretched tail lamps. However, if you consider the predecessor was more central in its lines, was more, like swinging lines, roundish. This one here is actually, let's say, not that sensual dramatic if you compare it to the predecessor. But maybe it will appeal more a mass audience then? I don't know. Well, it has a longer overhang here. Wheelbase is just the same as with all of the A-Class models. And then the exhaust tips here, just beauty. The inside, you can find the reed exhaust. Then a massive diffuser right here at the lower end. Again, very big contrast, especially to this yellow color. Of course, there are also other colors available if you like. And integrated wing lip here. I think that's also really elegant if it's in the same vehicle color. The 35 models here in this compact segment by Mercedes, they all feature the same engine, a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine with just over 300 horsepower in 4.8 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. Again, the same for the A35 hatch and also the A35 sedan. Well, they use it in all of their compact models, and it's really enough. If you say, oh, where's the 45? Yes, it will also be coming, but this one here, as I've driven it in a hatch, is totally fine, I can tell you. And it will be the same engine, just with a little bit more horsepower tuned, so you can also just stay with that one. And all-wheel drive, by the way, also 50% fit front and rear. This would be the maximum setup. Of course, you can get more traction to the ground. And now I welcome you to the interior of the CLA 35. And it's really interesting. In the front you have some AMG styling here. Also there's turbine vents, and it looks pretty much the same as in the A35 hatch or in the sedan. And then about those seats, the base one would be normal sports seats with separated head restraints. And they come with dynamic microfiber on the inside and article leather on the outside. And then option you can get those here, the super sport seats with integrated head restraints. Well, they look quite fancy. They're a little bit less comfortable. And you can see they're also available with the full article setup. So indeed, this one here, the bright white article leatherette on the inside and then black on the outside. And it feels so great. It's, very soft to touch. And it was very funny because recently I also had some discussions with designers and also engineers, and they could sometimes even not differentiate themselves and really had to look it up which one it really, which one really is. And also at the inside of the doors and here of the seats, this is really all leatherette, so very animal friendly, and it's also actually good for the customer. Interior overview, here again you see this structure right there. Then a lot of piano lacquer is also being used. Manual climate unit here at the lower part. The whole stuff, the whole unit can be shaken a little bit here. That's not too good, but the buttons itself, they have a nice clicking sound. And also when you use those, from open to close, also nicely done, and how you can operate them. When we would put the ignition all on, we could also use the new MBUX voice function. But we don't have the key for the car here at the moment, therefore I'd rather show you a little bit overview here with, zoom in and out. Other than that, I use the GPS command all over voice activation now and not anymore with the classic input. Either touch or you use the touch pad in the lower part. There you can also browse in the infotainment system. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto are available when you have this smartphone connection right there. Here, Android Auto via USB or Apple CarPlay also via USB. Or right thumb here for the right screen to use, that would work. Volume knob here and the left side on the steering wheel for the main instruments unit. The steering wheel can be adjusted in reach and height right there. And I must say it's really a little bit thick for this car. It really rather fits to a C63 or even, the E class also has the same AMG steering wheel, I think. So maybe a little bit too far dimensioned for this very car. What do you think? You always control the seats from the inside of the doors, driver and co-driver. That's actually a quite nice function. And then over here, some more close-ups of the air vents. In the lower part, you slide open the front middle console right there. You can have optional inductive charging pad next to another USB-C supply. Cup holders also adaptive when you press this button right there. Then this pad close-up camera button, if you have the optional camera system. This will be the driving selector where you can pick the driving modes, but you can also do that here in the AMG models, right here at the steering wheel with this new one. But I don't like them so much. They don't fit to the rest of the quality of the car, I think. And then this pad is just, just to put your hand on it while you control something. And then you can also slide open this armrest here with another 2 USB-C supplies and some more storage room. The rear compartment here of the new CLA generation, the big change is when you compare it to the previous CLA, you can now properly sit here in the rear. That means, headroom-wise, it's still somewhat close, but it's definitely way better than in the predecessor. But the whole car is also a little bit longer, so that's no wonder. And if you compare that one to the A-Class sedan, for example, you have a little bit more head clearance in the A-Class sedan because this one here has a sleeker roofline, so you also lose some headroom. But you can still sit here somewhat properly as an adult, as long as you're not too tall. I'm 1.86 m or 6'1", just that you remember. And when I put myself all upright with the spine, then I do hit the ceiling with my head. That's the catch of the CLA. Other than that, also the nice Artico seats here on the rear, forming somewhat two single seats. We have somewhat USB-C supplies here and the 230 volt supply even in the rear part with another AC vent, for example, and also more cup holders right there with an armrest. And to flip the seats again, go to the trunk, release them, and then you can fold them here flat, also with the integrated design right here. So better than in the predecessor, but you lose some room if you compare it to the A-Class sedan. This one here, the CLA, is rather about more length in the trunk. Flip the logo here to access the trunk, and with 460 liters of boot capacity, this one here is the biggest boot of the A-Class sedan. And the CLA here, CLA is the biggest one because it's also the longest car. And I can show that right here because the trunk length is here at almost 1 meters and 10. So a couple of centimeters longer than the A-Class sedan. And if we flip the seats, we have to unlock them right here. I can show that on one side, right here, and then we can, seatbelt is holding it tight. There we are. So, and then we can load through longer things. Of course, the trunk length is, you can really profit from that. So, and here we go, right there. There we go, and that is 180 in centimeters. I think we had about 160 with the A-Class sedan. So you can very well use it, and again, almost like with the C-Class sedan. Question is really, you know, the CLA is still this design focus. That would be the main argument to go for that. And now to the conclusion of the CLA 35. Well, it has a very attractive exterior. That's still the case for the CLA. Very central, but not as central as before. I think it became now a little bit more mainstream. At the 35, of course, a lot of power. It will be very expensive, yes, but also the cheapest still of the AMG models. And we recently drove the CLA here as a normal petrol engine, so not the AMG version, but that one already was quite powerful, the 250, the CLA 250. Tune into that driving review, and it was a great drive. So silent on the interior, but still suspension also a great balance. So I would also go for the adaptive suspension if I would go for the AMG model, a good option to pick too. Nice Artico animal-friendly and user-friendly leatherette on the inside here, for example, but also microfiber is available, so great seating choices. Well, in the rear, it's better now in the new generation than in the predecessor. However, you do have a problem with the headroom still in the CLA if you compare to the A-Class hatch or the A-Class sedan. And then, what's the difference to the A-Class sedan in general? Here you have a longer trunk, longer car overall, that you have already dimensions of a C-Class. Well, you get more trunk length and more capacity also in the boot if you actually need that. But indeed, A-Class sedan and CLA both come actually very close. What would be your favorite?